Welcome back to another episode
It's
of Road
magic
to
right here.
today's movie review. We're doing it on Holiday Heart. Holiday Heart is a throwback I wanted to discuss because it's a good story to pinpoint different issues people deal with daily and how people like the most realistic way try and deal with the challenges that come in life. The movie's named after the main character, Holiday Hart, played by Ving Rams, who we've seen in Baby Boy. We've seen in I seen that one. What's that one movie he did with Nipsey Hussle, the late Nipsey Hussle? He did those Holiday Hart. I feel like I'm blanking on them, but OG in the game for sure. This movie to me showed his range, like in acting. Like the best comparison is like Baby Boy when he played in Baby Boy versus how he played in Holiday Heart. Not just as characters that he's playing, but the person that he is. You can kind of tell with the roles he picks. Because if you look at somebody day to day, they see a black man do that today, it's usually frowned upon within the black community. The black men usually say, oh, no, you done sold yourself out, blah, 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 blah. That's just like an everyday thing. A lot of people wouldn't rock with it. But this showed scale. This showed scale. The love of his life passed on. His name was Fisher. And Fisher and Holiday had this home. They had a few homes. What their job was, they was basically in the real estate business, right? But they didn't call it that. So that's how they made their bread. But Fisher passed on, and so Holiday, we looked into her life a little bit more like how does someone grieve loss of a loved one? It kind of shows a perspective of that. Being at a time where queer being out wasn't accepted as much, especially in the black community, in the church. Church where it's supposed to be community, helping one another, uplifting one another. You see how people are treated when they are open, when they are. So it's just a battle within our own community, which makes it harder for queer people, black queer people specific, because it's like, well, dang, if this is where I go and seek guidance and build community and I'm being judged when I walk through the door because you don't fit the quota, man, you're dealing with that. So yeah, the clubs. But they had a club where it was they did drag shows. Holiday Hart is a performer. She's a drag queen. She's a widow. And so we're exploring that one night, her and her best friend, uh, played by Jonathan Wesley Wallace, the late, who also played in one of my favorite movies of all time, A Low Down Dirty Shame. People hyping it up now, but those I liked it because it was a low key movie and it was like no one really knew about. Not everybody know about it. Like, oh, now, but I'll do a review on that. I'll do a review on everything. I love it. I love it. Leave in the comments if what movie next, what TV show I should get into. Books. Give me some gang. Give me some gang. Give me the 411. They're like, bro. Her best friend, Blue, we're gonna call her Blue. And they were leaving a drag show one night. They were still dressed up in their drag queen attire. And and that's important because Nikki, played by Jessica Reynolds. She also did a sneak peek up in Bernie Mac's show. If you know you, because if you don't know, how did you get here? How did we get here? Nikki was like telling, Nikki was basically asking them that like, I need your help. She wasn't really asking. She was like, I need your help. Come on, mom needs help. So Holiday rescues Wanda and Nikki, gives them a home. They live side by side. And that showed that it doesn't matter what you have on, how you identify, how you look in a rescue situation. just as human beings, we're supposed to be there for one another. Just off the simple, off the street, I need help. Like, at least have that decency. And that's what it showed. Like, are you willing to help in those moments? Or are you going to judge, don't want help from certain people? It's kind of insane. Wanda is a writer, but she's on drugs and she's dealing with this pain that we don't really know what it is. We just know that she's on drugs, but that's not really, that's what she's using to get by, but we don't really know her story. We don't know how she, even got, well, we do because Nikki said that, she was doing fine until she fell in love. And love is really one of the most important things in this movie because it showed you that one love or that, can like really shift your life, good or bad, neutral. But for Holiday, the love of her life was Fisher, and they loved each other so well and so much that it birthed a new life to help birth and help other people in their life. Instead of Wanda meeting someone like Fisher, she met people like LT, the first boyfriend in the film, and she met the person who would be the result of her demise, Ricky. She was taken out by because of ego, because of the same people in the community that judge others for not being enough or lack thereof was the same thing that took her out. The ego. The ego was part of the reason because Ricky at the end, I'm not gonna tell y'all the whole movie. Like if you know the movie, you know the movie. I'm not going to step back. I'm just giving y'all the highlights. But I'm saying though, like Ricky really showed the lack he had in his life. He didn't have love in his life. And if you meet someone who didn't have love in their life, took different routes, like how are they gonna end up? How do they, we don't know his story either. I'm just saying there's more stories that could be told based on just these characters. We always get spin-offs of different characters. Why not we do more spin-off movies from characters? Like what the fuck? People look at black men sometimes as leaders. That's how they portray themselves. They led the black woman, if we're gonna be like head ass about it, that would cause more harm than done, a struggle. You handed her limited time to be with her daughter and raise her daughter, which gave Nikki more steps she had to do at a younger age. She had to grow up faster because she realized her mother couldn't take care of them anymore. So she had to do what she could to help out the best way she could as a kid. But her reaching out, because her and her mother were actually opposites. Like her mom never asked for help, and that could be part of her demise. She didn't ask help until the very end. And but there's parts where it's like it's not just on Wanda. It's on, and I'm talking about our community, it's on how we talk to each other. Like there were so many moments. We gotta be honest. Holiday Heart, yes, a sweetheart for sure, but she failed Wanda because there were so many times they could have sat down and just talked. Like the first time Wanda got back on drugs and she was knocking at her door some hour of the night. And she just really wanted someone to talk to. And I think that even though she was, you know, in that moment, high, you know, maybe it's an annoyance, like, oh, I'm trying to sleep, right? But you can't get those moments back because now you got extra sleep and now what? You know what I mean? And I feel like Wanda was failed a bunch of times, you know, by Black people. The people that she wanted to confide in, Wanda was failed because how we talk to each other is not good. But it was how Holiday was trying to talk to her in the language that she thought Wanda wanted or could handle. And it's like that tough love, but I'm a sass talk it because Wanda sass talks. And at one scene, she had said, I was just keeping it real because it was the day that they were taking Nikki to her first day of school in a new school. And she told the principal, like, damn near cussed him out and said, make sure you protect my daughter because I'm leaving her in your hand. And she basically was like, look, I was just keeping it real. In that scene, it's very short, but it's important because from that moment when they walked off that school property, said something that stuck with Holiday. See, when we ask for stuff and call out for stuff, it's like people hear that. However you meant it, however you meant it, it's so now someone done received it. It's like throwing the ball in the air, you caught it. I don't know how it felt when you caught that. And I feel like in that moment, Holiday Heart caught it in a sense of like, oh, that's how she wants me to talk to her. She wants me to keep it real like that. Like, and so, but that was part of the demise of Wanda's downfall because now, anytime you need help, calling out, I want to talk, I'm going to give you that same energy. See, when people like keep that same energy, no, you don't keep that same energy. You gotta, because if that's not for that moment, it's not for that moment. Who cares if you're keeping it real? Don't be a dickhead. When that night she was knocking on her door, that's when you open the door and sit her on the couch, make some cookies. Oh, what? Maybe you put some on the TV. It's the 90s. You know how many movies y'all could have just sat down and chilled? Sometimes it's just good to just chill. We ain't got to really even talk. I think that's another thing that was lacked. Like, oh, if I allow her in the home now, I got to entertain her. We got to talk. We got to have this sit down. It's like sometimes it's not even the talking, just being around someone you know and you're building more home like, but that was, and she did it a few times and gave her that energy. But um Nikki had to keep growing up fast, but she was growing up a little too fast. Abuse, a lot of abuse, especially when Wanda couldn't take it anymore. She kind of got, and I could be misinterpreting this wrong, but she kind of just writing, even though she loved writing, though her passion was writing, like she still felt like her life wasn't fulfilled. And it was partly like love, but it was like, I think she was lacking loving herself because she felt like she needed to need something. And it was like, you just need to be, I think you need to learn what you want. It doesn't have to be like writing doesn't have to be just that thing. Like it could be like a career if you want something out of it. But if you want to just live your life, you can go do that. But changing environments, maybe if they all went to Paris early, maybe something, a different scenery, a different life would have given her that boost. I love how it was a village. Blue's character, she was basically ready to start something new. A lot of times, Paris is one of those places that it's like Americans would go to feel free. Like, what's the other freest place someone could feel who's from? People would usually, Paris would be on the list. Regular people, for artists, for whatever, just the feeling of more freedom. I've never been. I do want to go to Paris. Um, but traveling, that's a whole nother video. That I just feel like that was an interesting place to go that she put on her list. Silas was consistent as well, but he was a drug dealer. He didn't believe in himself enough to be better than what he had. He's like, look, I got some motion. I'm on my own. He was getting older and he kind of represented the older drug dealer. Like you'll hear a lot of times about the younger drug dealers, the fast life, the game. Like, you're like, oh, it's these highlights. It's the money, the car. But he was showing that side of it where it was like, okay, I'm kind of tired of running around and doing this and doing that. But it's like, but what else can I do? So you're like giving up on yourself because you don't believe in yourself. So he's showing that other side of it that you usually don't see in movies or anything or people talk about. because you always hear them like going, passing on, or going to jail. You never really see that side where it's like, okay, neither of those things are happening, but there's no opportunities. But overall, oh yeah, the colors, there was like certain things in the movie where I felt like the colors were popping out to me. Like the red for me felt like somebody who needed to be saved because I saw Wanda wear a lot of red. The last scene, it was her red pants. It was that red bike that she wanted to give to her daughter. She was kind of like wearing the savior, and she wasn't really saving herself. She was trying to like save her daughter. Like if she didn't have her daughter, I think her daughter was like her savior because the daughter wore a lot of blue. And I feel like to me, blue in that movie represented like someone who has kind of like made it to shore. But you're on shore seeing the wreck and you're trying to, she's like that, she's needing SOS to help. And Holiday is like that superwoman. I'm saying she, her pronouns because even though they said he and even Holiday, even Holiday said he and whatnot, but I feel like she was androgynous. We would even say non-binary as well, like because she could dress in a suit, in a dress with makeup, hair laid all day, like you like open the door for her. You know what I mean? Off respect. I do that for anybody. But older people do not go for that. They be like, get in there. Like, mm. Mrs. Owens was the older lady who worked in the store and gave Wanda that job. She was another consistent person in her life, but that's work. It's like you don't discuss your life at work, but it's something familiar. But it was something missing, that missing void. So that would have been dope to kind of explore her life a little bit more to understand how she got there because you don't judge no one off them doing drugs, but it's like you don't judge anyone on doing drugs, trying to understand why they use it, how they got there. And that's what I wanted to know more about Wanda was like. But and it's like love and it was and how addictive it can be just like love. But yeah, let me know in the comments how y'all felt about the movie. What do y'all think about the colors? If you haven't seen the movie or if you're like, let me go and watch it real quick, come back, vibe out. But yeah, that's it. Hit me in the comments, in the DMs. I'm chilling, we vibing. Thanks for the new subscribers. I see the videos is going up. It's live. It's popping. So I appreciate the love. I don't take it for granted. But yeah, make sure you hit that like button, share, and peace.